Good morning and welcome to another edition of Cooking with the Mad Wolf. Today I have stuff out and I'm going to cook an omelet. So, we got our eggs, we got our cheese, lunch meat, salt, pepper, and basil. Basil's not really recommended or needed, but it kind of adds some flavoring to the egg. I realize I don't have my tomato out. But the first thing you want to do, get an egg. Not sure how well this is going to go because usually I cook with two hands. And you gotta... Yes, you're going to get your hands dirty making an omelet. So, eggshell trash. Yes, I do wash my hands before I cook. Always. Ah, crap. That's what I was trying to avoid. Okay. Give me a second. Okay, well, that got fixed. Needed both hands for that and a fork. So, yeah, I got that fixed. Got the tomato put up. And I also got a glass of Nutri milk. Or Nutri milk. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. But if you're wondering why it's blue, it's not from Star Wars. It's actually cotton candy flavored. It's pretty good. Pretty good. My wife and I, Arctic Fixin' and I, picked it up at the local Safeway. She really buys a lot of them. So anyway, next thing we want to do is actually, I'm going to show you, I cut up, be careful when cutting up tomatoes or anything because you don't want to hurt your hand. Normally I don't cut like this. Once again, have to have one hand for the phone, which is kind of a pain in the butt. But, hey, trying to teach you guys. Okay. Use knives responsibly. There we go. Okay. The meat is going to be easy. You just tear that up into little strips. But, so we want to get some pepper in here. You can use more or little, or more or less. It really depends on your personal tastes. Don't feel bad to experiment. Don't feel bad about failure. Cooking is a bit of a science in my opinion, and kind of like chemistry. So, you just want to... I don't like salt that much. Basil. But, it's all about preferences. Some people say, well, how do I cook right? Honestly, I don't believe there is such a thing as cooking right. I say that, like, some people prefer their meat rare. I don't. I like well done. I actually don't mind a little bit of rare, but there's some people who almost eat their meat raw. And as you can see, I'm just using this fork to beat the egg. Simple, right? Okay. Now, you just take the mixture and pour it in the preheated pan. Now, one thing is, when cooking omelets, make sure you got that nice roundness. You're going to have to let it cook, at least until the bottom gets solidified. The reason being is, like a pancake, there we go. You're going to want to get underneath, flip it over. Let's see. It's still a little bit gooey on top, but I'm just going to see if I can work my way underneath. This is a non-stick pan. Sometimes non-stick pans aren't best in the world. When they get scratched up, yeah, it's still a little bit gooey. When they get scratched up, it kind of screws up their stickiness. There are better non-stick pans, but most of the time they're more expensive ones. I got this set pretty cheap, so let's see if I can get underneath. Because this side is pretty solid. It's a little bit easier, you know, if I'm holding one side, make sure the frying pan doesn't tip, but you just try to gently work your way underneath. If you have a cast iron pan, which is a lot heavier, sometimes it cooks a lot better. You should grease your pan before cooking it. You could do this with just vegetable oil or butter. Depends on flavor preferences. Okay, flip. Okay. This is pretty easy to cook. Normally you don't want to make a mess like that though. So we're just going to layer in some cheese and a little bit of tomato. The other tomato slice that I cut up was actually, I'm going to make a second one for Arctic Fixin'. So, I love this lunch meat, Carl Butted lunch meat, because it's really thin. It's also really cheap, it's like 80 cents. So, just take a bit and rip it. You can cut it if you really want to, put it in chunks, whatever. My mom likes cutting it, making it look a little bit nicer, but for me, it's all going to go down in this belly anyway. So, some more tomato. Yeah, then another piece of lunch meat. And just rip it into strips. Okay. So, there we have all the cooked toppings in there. You can add more if you want, onions, peppers, you know, it really just depends, once again, on your preferential tastes. But, you know, this is, you could actually take this off and say, hey, it's done. But I want to make sure all that cheese gets melted. Melted cheese is one of the best parts about omelets. Sometimes people like their eggs a bit fluffier, but hey. This is how my mom kind of taught me how... My mom taught me how to cook omelets like this. But she doesn't use basil, and she doesn't use tomato. It's just egg, meat, and cheese. And she does put a little bit of salt and pepper in there, but I've kind of worked with the recipe a little bit, so made it a little bit more filling, and just, once again, to my own preferential taste. And you hear that sizzling, which means the cheese is getting melted. It's probably getting on the pan. Oh, yep, it's getting on the pan. Okay. You don't want the cheese to really 100% make a mess. You just want it to melt. Boom. That is a done omelet. How you cook omelets. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a like, give me a subscribe, or, you know, you really don't have to. But it would be appreciated. And I hope you guys have a good one.